Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to Snatch Chat, where I'm here to help you lose fat, but not your mind. I am Tiffany, certified personal trainer, nutrition specialist, and your body snatcher. And today we will be talking about intermittent fasting. Okay, so this is one of those topics that is very, very popular in fitness conversation, but it falls on very big extremes. So people are either really excited about the idea of it or they're completely intimidated by it. Because of what it kind of, entails, the extremity of it and all of that. But today, I'm going to break it down into a little bit of an easier way to understand the concept, as well as how to apply it a little easier than the typical way. Okay, so definitely stay for that. Before we get into it, just want to say make sure you subscribe to the channel. I do post every week and get your free workout. So I put 3 full-length workouts from my Snatch Sessions program in the description. They're about 40-45 minutes. Usually they're 40 to 50, just depending on how it flows. So, not too long, quick, high fat burn, all that good stuff. So definitely make sure you get that, okay? So we'll go ahead and get into the topic. So the first thing I want to say about intermittent fasting, and just to be clear, is that it does work, okay? So this is one of those concepts that isn't just like, does it work for you? Does it work for you? It does work for pretty much everybody. And this is like scientifically proven. So much so that a team a few years ago actually won the Nobel Prize, okay, for their research on it and proving that when you eat does have an effect on your fat and how much you burn and all of that. So this isn't some, kind of in the wind kind of topic. It has been proven, okay? So I just want to go ahead and get that off the bat because some of the stuff I'm going to say after this you may be surprised about, even though I'm saying that it's the best thing. Well, not the best thing, but it is an effective thing, okay? So just wanted to put that out before I get into the points, okay? So I'm basically just going to give you 3 points that you should know and how you should apply it, okay? And the very first one is that, in the big scheme of things, if you know anything about the conversation, you know that intermittent fasting is an association of eating in 8-hour blocks of your time out of your 24 hours instead of eating throughout the day, okay? But what a lot of people don't know or don't really talk about is that this is all based on sleep cycles, okay? So it's not so much that it's just, eating in 8-hour blocks, it's eating in a way that supports the way your body actually functions, okay? So 8 to 10 hour blocks is what the research has found to be the most effective way. So when you're talking about that, that means that for 16 hours you're not eating, right? So a lot of times that will translate into people eating, early in the morning throughout to like the midday or early evening, okay? And then they're not allowed to eat while they're sleeping or while they're up, but because you're only getting 8 hours of sleep. Think about that. So it's like 8 to 9 hours of sleep, and most people don't even get that, right? So you're looking at 8 to 9 hours of sleep and not eating, which is the easy part, and then another 8 hours of not eating on purpose while you're up awake and actually going through life. So it is a very challenging idea for a lot of people, and why a lot of people are intimidated by it. And I do want to just say that before this research was done a few years ago, I wasn't really on the intermittent fasting bandwagon at all. And I'm going to tell you my way of applying it for my clients and everything, where it's not exactly 8-hour blocks. But I wasn't on board at all because I'm a sustainability coach. So I believe in things that you can do over time that don't feel like they're so extreme. And when this whole intermittent fasting thing started coming up, I was like, you know what? This is a little too much. Most people are never going to stick to it. So I just want to be clear though that it is based on sleep cycles. It's not so much that it's just, you are supposed to eat in the 8 hour blocks or whatever. It's because they have proven that the way your body functions around your sleep cycle, that is the most ideal thing. And that is what they found, is that you burn more calories and you gain less fat if you eat in an 8 hour block that is supported by your sleep cycle. And as far as the sleep cycle goes, that is not the same for everyone. And clearly that makes sense. It's based on, when you go to sleep and all of that. So, and I'll get into that a little bit later when I talk about applying it. Okay. So I think that's all I had for the notes on that. It is very, 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 strict. Okay. And most people, just to be clear, do eat from when they wake up till they go to bed. Okay. That is just what it is. Most people eat in a 15-hour or more cycle of eating instead of the 8 to 10. Okay, so just putting that out there. Most of us are just going to eat. Okay, so my second point with all of that being said is, even though it works, it's not for everybody. Okay, and so this is one of the things I preach a lot with a lot of concepts. There are things that have been proven to work, okay, for science, but it doesn't mean that it's something that you need to do, okay? I'll use myself as a perfect example. I'm never going to intermittent fast. Not going to do it. I know for a fact, based on the fact that I do this for a living, but also just seeing other people, you can lose weight, okay, and you can get in optimal shape without doing intermittent fasting. Okay, is it a fast track? Yes, you absolutely may get there faster, but I think the most important thing is to really start understanding that it doesn't have to be the fastest way to get somewhere. You want to do something that you are going to do over time, okay? Something that is going to be effortless for you so that it doesn't feel like you are punishing yourself. And for many, many people, eating in an 8 to 10 hour block is just not going to be where it's at. Okay, it's going to be it's a no for me. Okay, and it is definitely a no for me. Like I said, stay till the end. I'll tell you how you can apply it the easiest way if you want to start implementing it. But for me personally, I will just keep it real. I pay attention to calories. Okay, so and I just, I'm always going to go back to that. So when I am doing specific goals and I am paying attention to what I want to do, I log my calories so that I know how many calories I can have throughout the day. Because as I always say, in the end, fat loss is all, well, not fat loss, but weight loss, which is usually a result of fat loss, is all about caloric deficit and burning more calories than you eat. Okay, so as soon as you take that into perspective and you really adapt that, you will be so much better off, because you will understand all these other concepts like intermittent fasting and everything else are just methods to get to that means. Okay, so and on that note, I believe one of the main reasons intermittent fasting is so effective is that if you're eating in an 8 hour block, right, you're going to probably eat less calories than if you were eating in a 15-hour block. Okay, so I do want to say that the research has proven that the actual body responds differently to the food in these different blocks. So it's not just the fact you're eating less, but that is a factor that lends to it, because if you're eating in an 8 hour block, you're not going to eat the same amount of calories that you would doubling that time, right? So it makes sense in both spectrums. Okay, so that was the second point. Like, it doesn't mean that it's for you. Okay, I can't tell you if it's exactly for you, but you know yourself. So if you know that you're a person like, so coming back to me, I'm not trying to make the the channel about me or whatever, but I can just give you, since I know I am an example of someone who will never actually implement it, and I do implement it in certain ways, which I'm going to go into the third point about. but I don't do it in blocks. I don't say I'm going to eat in, a 10-hour block or whatever. It's just not for me. I get hungry throughout the day. Now, if you do the method that I tell you, you can train your body to be more adapted to eating in a smaller block. You have to train your body, but I personally just have no interest in that. And that is okay. I'm here to tell you it is okay, to pass up on some of these, solutions to fat loss and weight loss. You don't have to do them all. If it's not for you, it's not for you. Okay, so that's point number 2. And point number 3 is basically just my approach and what I believe is the best way to start, okay, if you would like to go on this journey. Okay, so knowing that it's proven and that, eating all throughout the day is, not in your best interest, and that, if you're eating in less of a block, that you're probably going to eat less calories, which is going to lead to weight loss, it does make sense to do something along the lines, right? So what I do and what I pretty much implement with each client is to start small based on what you already do. Okay, so for instance, if you, well, the first thing is to decide, okay, what time do you usually go to bed? Okay, so if you go to bed usually at 11 o'clock, let's say, then what you should do is just take away 30 minutes to an hour to start and say, I'm going to start a cutoff time. So you're not worrying about blocks, you're not worrying about how many hours you're eating. You're just starting at having a cutoff time. So instead of, if you're one of those people that eat something up until the last, you go to bed, then say I will stop at 10 o'clock. Okay? If you're one of those people that doesn't eat all the way up till bedtime, but you eat something maybe an hour before, say, okay, I usually have something around 10 o'clock and then I, hang around the house for another hour. So what I'll do is I will make my cutoff time either 9:30 or 9 o'clock. Okay, so what you're doing there is you're starting to set a boundary, okay, of when you're allowed to eat and when you are not allowed to eat. Okay, so what this will do is over time you will find that you will plan better for that time. So if it's 8 o'clock, okay, or 8:30, and you know that you're supposed to stop eating at 9 o'clock and that you're supposed to have your last bite at 8:59 or whatever, what you'll start doing is you will plan your food better. You'll say, okay, I know I only have an hour left, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this right now. And what it also does is it makes you think about what you really need instead of just eating because you have time to eat, right? If you know that you only have 1 hour left and you're actually thinking about what you're eating, it's going to lessen the chances of you just going in the fridge and just getting the ice cream, right? Because you know that, it's just your last hurrah, and a lot of times just associating thought, okay, with the action is what makes your actions better. Okay, so that is my number one way of actually starting to implement it. And then what you do from there is you can decide if you want to keep going. So then you say, okay, well, I mastered, the 10 p.m. thing, let's just say. Okay, I'm never eating past 10. I'm completely on board with it. Then you say, okay, well, maybe I'll shoot for 9:30, and then you do 9:30, and you keep doing this until you find a spot, okay, that is really, really comfortable for you. And I would say you don't even have to go all the way up to 8 hours. I think that's, it is extreme. It is fasting. Fasting is in the name for a reason. You are fasting most of the day. So if you want to just work up to a 12-hour block, that's like significant over eating for 15, 16 hours at a time. Get to a 12-hour block first, see how you feel about that. And then if you're feeling like, you know what, I think this makes me feel good, I kind of like the idea of it, then start, moving towards 11 or maybe even 10 hours. But do not move on until you have mastered where you are. So that is the main point that I'm making with this action, with this, approach, is that you want to master the phase that you're in before you move on. Most people want to just take on a new thing and they'll be like, I'm gonna start a fast. And they've been eating 16 hours, for their whole life. And then they see something and they're like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do the fast. And then they just want to go from 16 hours of eating to 8 hours. And it's complete torture. Okay. They can't handle it. They feel hungry. They're starving, cranky. It's just, I promise you, sustainable habits and little change as you go is always going to be the best way to do it. Okay. So those are the 3 main points. So just to recap, number 1 was just the actual concept and how to understand it, and that it is based around your sleep cycle. Okay, so how you sleep, when you wake up, and having the time blocks of actual eating. Okay. Number 2 was that even though it's very effective, it is not for everybody, and it is okay to waver on some of these fitness concepts. If you do not want to fast, if you want to just eat, whenever you want, you can do that. All you need to know is that you need a caloric deficit to do that. Okay. And then number 3 is that you can do it a little bit at a time. You can actually work your way into it, and that is the ideal way if you are interested in attacking intermittent fasting. Okay, so you can just start with cutting off, having a cutoff time an hour before your typical bedtime, and then working your way up from there. Okay, so those are the 3 points. Your action step of the day, okay, of this video, of this, broadcast, is to first decide if it's something that you really want to do, if it's something that is that important to you. But I will say, I think it is a good idea to actually have a cutoff time. So I will end with that. I think having a cutoff time is good for discipline measures. I have found that even though I don't have a cutoff time, I always will end up not eating at least a couple hours before I go to bed. And I go to bed really late, so it's kind of a weird thing. Like I'm a night owl, so I mean eating at like 1 and 2 in the morning is just doesn't make any sense anyways, and I'm going to bed at that time. So just pick something that makes sense for you, but just cut it off like 1 hour to start at least. So that is the main action step of the day. Okay, so that is it. Hopefully that was helpful. If you have any questions, comments about it, leave a comment down at the bottom. Also, let me know if it's something that you think you would like to do. Is it something that you've thought about doing? Is it something that you may want to start? Let me know any of your feedback on it. I love to interact and all of that. And then again, make sure you get your workouts and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Okay, so that's it for this time. I will see you next time. Till then, take care of yourself, eat well, do all the good stuff, mind, body, and spirit, and I will see you soon.